Good evening. You're watching Independent News. I am Sakhawat Khan. Before we go into the details, we have the headlines. A writ has been filed challenging the government move to introduce a parliamentarian quota for enrollment at non-government schools across the country. Bangladesh and Belarus signed 12 deals on the trade, agriculture and military sectors. The deals are expected to bolster bilateral relations. Islami Chhatra Shibir activists go violent in Jaipurhat and set a policeman on fire during the Jamaat-sponsored strike in the district. The High Court has adjourned hearing on a writ filed against the government move to introduce a quota for parliamentarians for enrollment at non-government schools across the country. The writ was jointly filed by rights organizations Bangladesh Legal Aid, Services Trust and Aino Shalish Kendro. The organization petitioned at court to issue a rule upon the government to explain why the move should not be declared illegal. The bench of Justice Bazlur Rahman and Justice Ruhul Quddus adjourned the hearing because no Gazette notification has been published as yet by the government to announce the decision. Many educational institutions in the capital and other parts of the country have been charging their students additional fees for submission of SSC and equivalent examination forms. These institutions are charging each student 5,000 to 10,000 taka more than the amount fixed by educational boards.
I don't know what the money is taken for or where it will be spent. I just know the total amount. It's 8,300 taka.
It was an allegation by a guardian of a student of Manipur School and College. The education boards have fixed 1,200 taka as exam fee for the SSC and equivalent examinations. But most schools allegedly have been charging more than 5,000 taka from each student. Guardians, however, are reluctant to talk on the issue. Assistant headmaster of the Manipur School and College, however, insists that the students are not being charged anything extra.
We don't charge extra fees. We take the same amount of money a student pays for admission to a new academic year.
The chairman of the Dhaka Education Board said the board will take action against those schools if the allegations are proven.
The schools have been warned repeatedly, but they can charge monthly fees till February because the SSC exam will be held that month. We will investigate the matter if we receive any complaints the schools are charging extra fees. We will make a list of those institutions and take action against them.
It has been alleged that the schools charge extra fees before SSC exams every year, but no action was taken against them.
BNP Acting Secretary General Mirza Fakhrul Islam Alamgir has said that the government has intensified its oppression of opposition parties, realizing that it has lost its foothold on power. Mirza Fakhrul was speaking at Neapolton before an 18-party mass rally in the capital. Leaders and supporters of the 18-party alliance gathered at Neapolton for the rally. At the gathering, Mirza Fakhrul said that the government's oppression on the opposition has crossed all limits. He stressed that the government must accept the demand to hold the next general election under a caretaker government. Fakhrul said that otherwise the BNP will not take part in the election. The 18-party mass rally started from Neapolton in the capital and passed through Bijoynagar, Kakrail, Malibag, Mochak and ended at Mogbajar.
Let us force this government to hold the election under a non-partisan caretaker government through a mass movement. We want to take part in an election on a level playing ground. step down from power, hand over power to a non-party government and take part in the election. Allah willing, the people will establish a government that truly represents the people.
Bangladesh and Belarus have signed 12 agreements and memoranda of understanding on the trade, agriculture, education and military sectors. Bangladesh and Belarus signed the deals at the Prime Minister's office in the presence of the Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, and visiting Belarus Premier Mikhail Miasnikhovich. The two heads of government also discussed a range of issues of bilateral interest. The deals are likely to strengthen ties between the two countries. The Belarus PM arrived in Dhaka yesterday on a 3-day official visit. This is the first official visit of the Belarus Premier since the establishment of diplomatic relations between the two countries in 1991. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina hopes that the country's birth rate will come down to the replacement level by the year 2015. She made this comment today at a program to lay the foundation stone for the Partners in Population and Development, or PPD, Secretariat in the capital. The PPD is an initiative between 25 countries to expand and improve collaboration in reproductive health, population and development. The government has allocated 0.65 acres of land at Agargaon to establish the PPD Secretariat. The Prime Minister said that the country's population increased dramatically from 1960 to 1990. The successful implementation of family planning programs is bringing down the birth rate gradually. According to estimates by the UN, the birth rate in Bangladesh will reach the replacement level when live births per woman come down to 2.1.
As in many other countries, Bangladesh also faces many problems in providing healthcare to the people. The government is committed to providing continued support to the PPD and to South-South initiatives to address and solve problems in the areas of population, reproductive health and related issues. We hope that through mutual cooperation we will soon be able to reach our targets in reproductive health issues and birth control.
Shibir activists went on a violent rampage during the Jamaat-sponsored day-long strike in Jaipurhat today. Activists of the student wing of Jamaat-e-Islami doused a policeman with kerosene and then set him on fire. Reports say Constable Ghulam Mustafa was drinking tea in the Hichmi area of the town this afternoon when he was attacked. On seeing this atrocious attack, local people came forward and chased the Shibir miscreants away. Then they took the policeman to a hospital in critical condition. The injured lawman was later shifted to Shahid Ziaur Rahman Medical College Hospital in Bogra for better treatment. Bangladesh Jamaat-e-Islami and its student wing Islami Chhatro Shibir enforced the dawn-to-dusk strike to protest the death of a Shibir activist. The activist sustained injuries during a clash with the police on the 5th of November and later succumbed to injuries. The detective branch of the police have arrested 23 Shibir activists with handmade bombs and other explosive material in the capital. The police said that the arrestees were planning to use the explosives to foil the ongoing war crimes trial. The Shibir activists were arrested from Tejgaon railway station and from the Parliament staff colony. Anti-government leaflets and magazines were also confiscated from their possession. Deputy Commissioner of the Dhaka Metropolitan Police, Manirul Islam, said that they will investigate if any third force is aiding and abetting the Jamaat Shibir activists.
In the primary interrogation, they told us that they are trying to foil the proceedings of the war crimes trial. To do this, they want to create unrest through subversive activities. No criminal wants to admit his or her crimes, but we arrested them with evidence.
It's time for a short break now, but here's what's coming up after the break. Law enforcers failed to find any trace of Porag even a day after his kidnap. Police are investigating with 3 possible motives in mind. Election Commissioner Mohammad Shahnawaz says that the army will be deployed for the Tangail by-polls if it is deemed necessary. Welcome back to Independent News. We'll take a look at the headlines once again. A writ has been filed challenging the government's move to introduce a parliamentarian quota for enrollment at non-government schools across the country. Bangladesh and Belarus signed 12 deals on the trade, agriculture and military sectors. The deals are expected to bolster bilateral relations. Islami Chhatra Shibir activists go violent in Jaipurhat and set a policeman on fire during the Jamaat-sponsored strike in the district. Law enforcers have still not found any trace of Porag, a child who was kidnapped yesterday from Keraniganj in the capital. Police said that they are investigating the kidnapping by considering three possible motives. The motives could be family rivalry, business conflict or land disputes. However, Porag's family say that they do not have any conflict or animosity with anyone.
Porag was kidnapped from this road in Keraniganj. His mother, sister and the driver of their vehicle were shot. The bloodstains are still on the ground. People gathered at Porag's home in Keraniganj after the news of the kidnapping spread. Porag's sister, who was shot by the kidnappers, lives in this house. Family members have no idea why Porag was kidnapped. They say they do not have any conflict or rivalry with anyone.
So far, we have not received any phone calls. I cannot think of anyone who would want to do this. I don't have a rivalry with anyone.
Only the divine can say who committed this crime. My son doesn't have any enemies.
The police said that they are considering three possible motives in their investigation.
There may be some land-related disputes. There may also be a business rivalry since Porag Mondal's father is a businessman. We will also investigate if there is any conflict within the family. We are considering these three possible motives in our investigation.
Porag's mother, Lipi Mondal, who was shot by kidnappers, is currently under treatment at a hospital in the capital. Doctors said that she is out of danger. Lipi Mondal was shot in the chest and arm. The pain of her son's kidnapping is far greater for Lipi than that of her bullet wounds. She has become speechless.
We continue with the news, but with Adnan Hussain. Adnan, over to you.
Thank you. Election Commissioner Mohammad Shahnawaz has said that the army will be deployed during the Ghatal by-polls if election officer asks for additional law-enforcing personnel. Shahnawaz said that the EC has so far decided to deploy police, RAB and BGP personnel during the polls. On a separate note, the EC said that the Commission plans to hold elections to those city corporations where the mandate will expire before the upcoming general elections. According to the EC, polls to the Rajshahi, Khulna, Borishal and Sylhet city corporations could be held between April to May next year.
So far, no direct demand for army deployment has been made on behalf of the candidates. In this case, we will depend on the opinion and report of the returning officer and of the local administration. If the report states that army deployment is needed anywhere during the polls, then we will direct the authorities concerned to take measures in this regard.
Private hospitals operate intensive care units or ICUs without any monitoring by the government. While patients are charged exorbitantly high prices, there is no organization to oversee that the quality of service is maintained. The health department has no data on the number of private hospitals operating ICUs.
Intensive care units are set up in hospitals to care for critically ill patients. According to international standards, one specially trained nurse must be available at all times for each ICU bed. But the ICUs in most private hospitals in the country do not have adequate skilled people. Many allege that these ICUs are operated primarily to make money.
I brought my patient from Madaripur to the Japan Bangladesh hospital after he suffered a stroke. He was kept at the hospital for 40 days and we had to pay around 700 to 800,000 taka. Then we could not bear the cost anymore. So we moved him to the Dhaka Medical College Hospital.
The Directorate of Health Services said that the Private Hospital Act 1982 does not provide any directives regarding the operation of ICUs. Therefore, hospitals operate ICUs and set charges as much as they wish.
We cannot hold them legally accountable since no law exists in this regard. We hope that once a policy is formulated, we will be able to make them accountable.
Authorities in private hospitals also admit that the government has no control over the quality of service and the fees charged for ICUs. Charges for similar types of ICU services vary greatly from hospital to hospital.
Had the government paid some attention to specify the standard of services and the charges, we could have worked following that guideline.
Patients and their relatives want the government to enact a policy to ensure quality in ICU services and uniformity in charges to prevent public suffering.
The price of loose soybean oil has increased again in markets across the capital. The price went up by 5 to 6 taka per litre over the last week. However, the prices of all edible oils, including soybean, have come down significantly in the international market over the last 1 month. At present, 1 ton of soybean oil costs less than $1,200 in the international market. The prices used to range between $13,000 to $14,000 a few weeks earlier. But the people in the capital, the price of soybean also increased over the last 7 days. Loose soybean oil is now being sold for taka 136 per litre, but it is used to be 130 taka last week. A glimpse into the stock market. The Dhaka Stock Exchange experienced a fall in its benchmark index for the second consecutive day today. The prices of most shares on the country's premier bourse also decreased. The DSE General Index dropped 29 points to reach 4,223 at the end of day's trading. Of the 268 issues traded, 161 declined, 91 advanced, and 16 remained unchanged. Shares in mutual funds units worth 2.47 billion taka changed hands. Yesterday, the General Index shed 94 points to finish at 4,253. BBC Director of News Helen Bowden and her deputy Steve Michel have been asked to step aside pending the outcome of an internal review into the handling of the Jimmy Savile child sex abuse scandal. On Saturday, BBC Director General George Entwistle quit over the broadcast with £450,000 payoff. Entwistle resigned following a Newsnight report which led to former Tory Treasurer Lord McAlpine being wrongly accused of child abuse in the 1980s. That's all from me. Back to you, Sakhawat.
Thank you. I don't think we have time for much more, so we'll close right off. That's all we have from the English News Desk for this evening. We'll be back tomorrow at our usual time of 8 p.m. Thank you for being with us.